Next is validation testing. Validation testing is defined by various means. But a very simple definition is that a software is developed in such a way that it fulfills the customer's expectations and all functions of the software are working properly. So, validation can be defined by various means, but the most simple definition is that you are developing a software in such a way that it is fulfilling all the customers' requirements, all the customers' expectations are fulfilled, and the functions of the software are the different functions of the software are working properly. Validation is only successful when the software works reasonably according to the customer's expectations. So customer had expect that the software should work in such a way, in so and so way, and it is working in that particular way only. So it is meeting the customer's expectations. Validation test criteria. The software validation is done by conducting a series of tests that satisfies the customer's requirements. So software validation is done by conducting a series of tests, and that series of tests shows the expectations of the customer are satisfied. A test plan draws the classes of tests that are to be conducted, and a test procedure defines the specific test cases. In validation test criteria, both the plan and procedure are designed in such a way that they ensure all functional requirements are satisfied. So there is a test plan which will draw the classes of tests that are to be conducted, and a test procedure will define the specific test cases. And they are designed in such a way that they will ensure that all the functional requirements are satisfied. It also ensures all behavioral characteristics are achieved, the performance requirements must be attained, and documentation must be correct. In addition, the usability and other requirements are meeting properly. In each validation test case, two possible conditions exist. The performance characteristic is meeting the specifications and is accepted, or any deviation from specification is detected and a deficiency list is generated. So the performance characteristics is meeting the specification and is accepted, or any deviation from the specification is detected and a deficiency list is generated. The error detection at this stage is rarely corrected before the scheduled delivery. It is a better practice to negotiate with the customer to find some solutions for deficiencies detected. Configuration review. An important part of validation process is the concept of configuration review. So an important part of validation testing is a concept of configuration review. The motive behind configuration review is ensuring that all the elements of the software configuration developed properly and they are catalogued too. So all the elements, they are developed properly and they are also catalogued. All these information is necessary for the maintenance phase of the life cycle. Next is acceptance testing. The acceptance testing is conducted by the end user rather than the software developer. So who is conducting the acceptance testing? It is conducted by the end user, not by the software developer. The need is to find the range of input values by the customer. Thus, acceptance test is well planned and is executed systematically. The series of acceptance tests are usually conducted to validate the requirements. So why is the acceptance test conducted? Again, to see whether the requirements of the customer is fulfilled or not. The acceptance testing is conducted over a period of weeks or months and thereby detecting the cumulative errors. That means the sum of errors which happen during that month, during that week is cumulated, is added up. These errors may degrade the system over time. If the software is built as a product that is to be used by different customers, then it is not practically possible to perform the acceptance test for each of the users. In short, when customized software is developed for one customer, then a series of acceptance tests are necessary to validate all requirements by the customer. So you cannot perform acceptance test when there are a number of customers, because you cannot go and check for each and every customer. whether it is working properly or not. So that point of time where the customers are more, then acceptance test will fail, no acceptance test will be conducted. But when there is only one customer, you can conduct the acceptance test and check whether all the requirements of that one customer are satisfied or not. So this is a very important point of acceptance test. When one customer is there, you can carry that out. When you have more than one customers, it is practically not possible to carry out the acceptance test and fulfill the requirements of each and every customer. The acceptance test can be classified into two types, alpha testing and beta testing. So there is a difference between alpha and beta testing, which is a very important difference, always comes in the university exam. So alpha testing is conducted at developer's end by the end user. So alpha testing is conducted at whose end? At the developer's end. But it is not conducted by the developer. It is conducted by the end user. But at the developer's end it is conducted. Beta testing is conducted at the end user's place only, by the end user only. So at the developer's end but by the end user. Alpha testing is conducted at whose end? At the developer's end. But who conducts it? It is not the developer who conducts it. At the developer's end, the end user is only conducting the testing. Here the developer is generally not present. In beta testing, developer is not present. Hence, the beta testing is supposed to be the live application of software. The end user work on the software and the developer has a keen observation on all the interactions of the user with the software in an environment that is controlled by the developer. So in alpha testing, the end user works on the software but the developer will observe the end user activities. Therefore, their alpha testing happens in a controlled environment and this environment is controlled by the developer. Whereas beta testing, the environment is not controlled by the developer. Why? Because we saw that the developer is not present. In contrast to the alpha testing that is done at the developer's end. The developer, alpha testing third point, the developer keep on recording all errors and problems encountered. Alpha tests are generally conducted in a controlled environment. What do you mean by controlled environment? An environment controlled by the developer. Whereas in case of beta testing, the end user will record all the problems that are encountered and will report to the developer on regular basis. The end user will keep a record and will report to the developer. In alpha testing, the developer himself will keep the records of the problems encountered. Next point in alpha testing, developer does not know the type of users and hence unable to control the errors. So he does not know the type of users, hence he is unable to control the errors. In beta testing, the end user is only going and reporting the problem. So the developer knows the type of the user, the type of the end user, hence is able to correct the errors. In alpha testing, in this the developer may modify the code at his side before release. So may modify what? May modify some kind of a code at his site before the release. In beta testing, may modify after getting the feedback from the user and prepare for the next release. So what he will do? He will prepare for the next release. So he will take the feedback from the user, then he will modify and then a next release will be prepared. Here it will be modified as soon as at his site only. So no feedback is necessary in alpha testing. So things can take place at the developer's end itself, at the developer's site. Here after getting the feedback, modification is done and preparation for the next release is done in beta testing. This is important difference between alpha testing and beta testing.